Again, good afternoon to all of you and welcome to the AgrAbility webinar series. My name is Paul Jones and I am the manager of the National AgrAbility Project that's coordinated here at Purdue University through the Breaking New Ground Resource Center. Today our topic is an introduction to self-employment and entrepreneurship for people with disabilities. And our presenter is Steve Swain, who is a staff member here with the National AgrAbility Project and also with the Indiana AgrAbility Project. Before we get into our topic per se, I do want to go over a few brief instructions for the session. Hopefully you are hearing me, and that means you have your headphones or speakers on. That's the only way to hear the connection, because we do not have a conference call at this point. You may want to check your connection speed, and you can do that through the meeting menu at the top of your screen on the top left. Go to Manage My Settings and My Connection Speed and pick the appropriate choice on connection speed. Again, dial-up is not recommended, and you're probably not even hearing me if you're on dial-up, because this particular software is not conducive to using dial-up. If you have questions during the presentation, you have two options. One, you may use the chat window, which is at the lower left of your screen. Simply type your question into the window and then hit the arrow. You want to make sure that the to is everyone. You have the option, I believe, of sending messages privately to particular individuals, but you want to make sure that you have everyone selected for that so that we see your question. We'll address those later. Also, we will have an 800 number available at the end of the presentation, and I will announce that number after Steve finishes his presentation, and you'll have the opportunity to also call in directly and ask your question. If you have problems, technical problems, you can also use the chat window, or you may email raz@purdue.edu on the screen. At the end of the presentation, we'll have 4 quick survey questions just to evaluate your opinion of the webinar and the content, the technology, that type of thing. Before we get to that point, I do want to test out our polling mechanism. So I will give you a quick question, kind of test your knowledge of self-employment and also test our system for surveying. So you should, in a second, see the question appear on your screen. Question is, according to the U.S. Census Bureau in 2005, businesses with no paid employees, which equivocates to self-employment, comprised what percentage of all U.S. businesses? So if you'd like to place your vote, I will go ahead and share the polling results to see what your opinions are on that question. Give you another couple seconds to do that. I guess you're already seeing the broadcasted results. Looks like our mechanism is working fine so far. That's good. Looks like by and large people think B, 25, is the correct answer. So I'll go ahead and close that poll and give you the correct answer, which was D, 70%, which is a surprising number to me also, but that's what the U.S. Census Bureau said. I guess if you count all the cab drivers in New York and every other city that's self-employed and all the beauticians, that may help account for that high percentage. So it looks like our polling mechanism works fine. Also, the session will be archived at a later date on www.agrability.org. We'll plan to send out an email to alert you to when that archiving has taken place. Just a couple notes, a couple of information bites about AgrAbility. Some of you are not probably familiar with AgrAbility. I know we have a lot of people from around the country, from various agencies. AgrAbility is a program that's funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the focus of the program is on serving farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural workers with disabilities. Currently, there are approximately 22 AgrAbility projects around the country, plus the national project here at Purdue University, and we help support those state projects and also provide some limited services in states that do not have AgrAbility projects. So today's examples that Steve uses may be related toward agriculture, but that doesn't mean they're not applicable to all kinds of different self-employment entrepreneurial activities. So we hope you're not discouraged by that particular field of interest, because we believe that the basic principles will apply to just about anyone interested in self-employment. In addition, we do quite a bit of work that's not related to agriculture. We have an agreement with our state's vocational rehabilitation department, and so Steve has done work on a variety of enterprises that are not directly related to agriculture. One thing I would note, we're going to be addressing some of the rules that VR has in Indiana. We're not saying that those are necessarily exactly the same rules for self-employment that you might find in another state. So we'll give you Indiana's example, but please make sure you check with your state's vocational rehabilitation department, whatever the actual name for it is in your state, and they can give you specifics on what type of self-employment options are available through their division of vocational rehabilitation. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Steve, and I'm going to be leaving the camera until the question and answer period. And so
good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Our purpose today is to help professionals and consumers determine whether or not self-employment ideas are worth pursuing, to give an overview of the business planning process, and to provide some resources for ongoing work. So our session outline is, why do we want to even think about self-employment? Who is suited for self-employment? And how should self-employment be explored? Why self-employment? We have seen here in Indiana a real growth and emphasis on entrepreneurship. Our governor, in his rural strategy 4 years ago, put a real emphasis on entrepreneurship. Our work with vocational rehabilitation in their small business enterprise program has grown from one business plan in 2002 to 20 in 2007. And then Purdue University Extension Service established a new ventures team. I think Purdue was common to land-grant universities in emphasizing corn and soybeans, and they saw a need for entrepreneurship and more of the niche businesses. Some of those commercial operations were looking for niches to supplement their corn and soybeans. So the Purdue New Ventures team was formed, which is specialists on campus and educators in the counties. Some potential benefits for the client: create a new occupation and increase personal income. We find this is one of the main ones with our clients who have disabilities. Do what they enjoy, more control over personal circumstances. Some of our clients cannot work an 8-to-5 job because of their disabilities. So entrepreneurship and having your own business gives them some control over the time that they work, satisfy personal goals, and to achieve some business goals. Okay, we have a question. I believe it's from Lisa. Why does VR services differ from state to state? Each state, it's a federal-state partnership, so the federal government has some basic guidelines, and then each state can then have their own guidelines to work underneath the federal. So there, a lot of services are the same. It's just a matter of how they offer those services. Okay, let's move on. Thank you for that question, though. Potential drawbacks for the client. Uncertainty of income. I know that as we're talking, I'm going to bring in some examples of clients that I've worked with. I have one in particular in mind that was looking at his sales figures since October, and you can see where the economic recession has really affected his sales. Risk of losing invested capital, long hours and hard work. It is not a 9-to-5 or 8-hour-a-day job. High levels of stress and discouragement. Who's suited for self-employment? You should have a handout with an entrepreneurial potential test. This is a paper, the test for the consumer that looks at their personality traits. We have them put a score of 0 to 10 on each question. There are 20 questions, 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. Then we add those scores up, and kind of a key, if you've got a score of 170 to 200, looks pretty good, very strong potential. 135 to 169, strong. 95 to 134, fair. You might want to be, looking at things. 94 or below, we really want to look at, what we're wanting to do, because it's a weak score. Now, when we look at it, a low score does not mean that the client will not be successful in that venture. What it does mean is that we've got some barriers that we've got to overcome to be successful, and that we've got to find someone to take those areas that are strong in those areas and rely on them, which can sometimes be very difficult. Other abilities we want to look at is, can the client create ideas about new methods and products? We've got to continually looking at adding products, and new and improved is a very common phrase today. Can the client interpret and translate ideas into realistic ideas? It's great to have an idea, but if you can't take that and move it into activities and into the business, there's going to be some difficulties. And can the client accurately interpret feelings, wants, needs of others? It's those other people that we're selling to that we've got to be able to meet those needs. Yes, it's nice for us to feel good, but if we're not selling anything, we've got issues again. Attitudes. is the entrepreneur willing to accept total responsibility? Not blame somebody else for what has happened or not happened. Are they committed to the idea of a small business? Willing to take risks? Will they tolerate irregular hours? Are they self-disciplined, self-confident? What are the goals? They can be broad. Basically, dreams with deadlines is what a goal is. And goals can be any one of a number of things, as we have listed here. They need to define their goals. Again, why do they want to do it? Gentleman I was working with this last week, he told me he wanted to do it because the town needed it. I'm not sure that's a real good reason to want to have an enterprise. What are the benefits to the customer and the entrepreneur? Where does the entrepreneur see themselves and the business in 5 years? Are they going to be growing? Or if they see themselves struggling, then we've got some issues to take care of. And how will the success be measured? Are we looking at number of people served? Are we looking at gross income, net income? Just what is it we're looking at? How should self-employment be explored? This couple pictures of gentlemen doing some exploratory work on an organic produce operation. And as we look at new ideas, whether that is new products, or if we're a farming operation and looking at, okay, do we go from corn and soybeans to white corn or blue corn? Do we go to organic? We've got a matrix here that will help do some evaluation. And there's 5 key areas that we look at. The first is, does it use existing resources? Does it provide enough profit margin? If there's not profit margin, then not a whole lot of use of pursuing it. Is there increased demand for the product? I think of hula hoops. There was a time, some of us remember hula hoops. There was a lot of them sold, but not too many anymore. So that isn't the business we want to get into. Low cost of product development. Do we want to move into? Can we move new products in? And will it lead to future product lines? So it uses a criteria evaluation matrix. We rate each idea using 0 to 5. 0 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. Then we multiply the total by 4 to get a rating as close as we can to 100 points. And here's an example. We have 4 products. You see the totals down there, and multiply them by 4. So we have product number 1, 56%, product 2, 80%, product 3, 84%, or product 3, 84%, and product 4, 64%. Okay, if we look at the matrix, if a worthwhile idea will have a rating between 80 and 100%. There might be some products that we would say, we've got some things that are more important than other criteria, so we'll weight them. And so that can also be done. Another good thing to do would be let somebody else evaluate the idea. we find, again, I use a gentleman I worked with last week that, he's gung-ho on wanting to add a product, and, he hadn't done his homework yet. It was just an idea in his head. So need to let somebody else get a better idea. Jump over one. Another way to evaluate is conduct a feasibility study. Who is the target market? Who do we want to direct our advertising to? Who do we expect to purchase our products? Where are those people located at? The geographic location. That way we know how to do our marketing. And what kind of demand is there for our products? I want to show you a website that we're looking at agricultural products here. This is a program that has been developed by the University of Illinois. It's called Market Maker. You can see, we'll have the web address later in the presentation. But the states in red or orange have live sites. We have some others that are in development. But we can use some of this information to put some of this information together. And I'll show a little bit of how we're doing it. We're going to look at Indiana. We're going to begin, as you can see, there's several different links in here. We have some sponsors toward the bottom. Got some resources, show some case studies. I'm going to begin a search, and we're going to move through this. Okay, yep, this is my fault. My fault. Okay. How are we now? Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not real sharp on computers. So let's, as I said before, this is, we have several sponsors at the bottom. There's several resources, websites, fact sheets, publications. Have some case studies. I'm going to run through a search here quickly so you can get an idea of what's possible. And we're going to look for a business type, and going to look for producer farmers. And I'm going to look for some vegetables. And so we can be healthy, we're going to look for some lettuce. And I'm not going to, there's attributes such as organic, and you can look through that as on your own. So we're going to do a search, and as you can see, we have a number of records come up. It shows 58, and It gives the business name, the city, state. You can go through and email them. Ones that have websites, you can go to them, and other actions. What we can also do is map these sites, which we'll do here. Okay, so we have a map showing the location, and we go on down, and there's some links to added details. This is rather difficult to see, but we can, okay, can we expand this, Cliff? Okay, we'll close that down. You can go to look at details, addresses, details about the farm, contact information. It'll also have on there, if they've got a website, let you see that. We're going to go and to the Find a Market tab and look for, give you some population information here. So let's go to household type. And so let's look at total married couples. And we'll map it. This is all from the Census Bureau, and the numbers go down to built on census tracts, which can be down even to townships. You can see where the different colors give you different population densities of total households. Another another census data section that you might want to look at when looking at your target market is a website, www.city-data.com, city data. It will give you so much information that you didn't even know it existed, clear down to towns, townships, counties, and a lot more detailed information than what we're seeing here. So let's go back. Okay, we're back to our PowerPoint now. So we're looking at evaluating new ideas, again, the feasibilities. And so we've looked at all of us have seen how the economy has reacted in the last, well, since October or so. So if we're looking at a new idea, how is the economy going to affect the business? Is this a business where it's discretionary income that they're spending? Can we, if we're looking at premium coffee, maybe they're going to go back to regular coffee and stay away from the premium. Who is the competition? Again, the business I was working with last week wanted to sell pizza, and there was a general store right across the alley who sold pizza by the slice. There was also a gas station with a mini mart, sold pizza by the slice. You got to know who they are. What are they doing right and wrong? And how will you compete? What's your niche? Or are you going to sell a premium product? Or are you going to have handmade? What's going to be your difference? How are you going to price? What's your pricing strategy or formula? Are you going to take a product and look at what your costs are, your material costs, and then double it? Are you going to try to be a Walmart and be the lowest price there? How will you advertise? Are you going to have signage, a website? Again, this gentleman, he was trying to get drive-by traffic stop in. If you were approaching his business from the west, you didn't see a sign. You didn't know what he was unless you, as driving by, you looked at it or came from the east. What are your distribution methods? Are they going to have to come by your place? Are you going to deliver? How are we going to do it? And then financial. I like to see 2 to 3 years of cash flow projections, and that is by month. How, the sales, your variable expenses, fixed expenses, what are the wages going to be? I like to see wages in there, not have what's left afterwards. And then what is left? And then what is your break even? How many pizzas do you have to sell? How many cups of premium coffee? Where is it? Our Indiana Vocational Rehabilitation has a small business enterprise program that we're going to look at quickly here. As we said before, the VR programs are a little bit different. I know here in Indiana, we have up to $30,000 available the first year and $15,000 the second year for products and modifications to start the business. This is only for startups. We cannot expand an existing business. I know there's some other states where it's $5,000 period, which limits the extent that you can go. But VR can provide up to 75% of those startup costs. So that 75% of the 75% is the $30,000. The client is responsible for 25% match. So if they're asking for $30,000, The client has to match with $10,000, and that can be either cash or in kind. Meaning, if we're going to do delivery, then the vehicle that they're doing the delivery in counts as in kind. VR can pay for training, professional and trade certifications, technical assistance or consultations, which is where I fit in, market analysis, any necessary assistive technology. Again, let's remember we're working with people with disabilities, what they would need to be able to do the business and do it easily with the hardware and so forth. Initial turnover stock of raw materials and inventory, insurance, liability, and property insurance. That is a must. If you can't, I had a gentleman wanted to start a metal detector business. He could not get property insurance because his showroom was on the side of his house trailer, and he was heating the house trailer with a wood stove, and nobody would insure his house trailer and business because he was heating with the wood stove. If we need remodeling done to the building for the business, accounting, bookkeeping, legal counsel, advertising, internet, heating, cooling, electricity, telephone, cell phone, equipment, including computers. The process is you either apply for services or reopen your case with VR. They do an individual plan of employment. There are some offices and counselors who send the client to the small business development centers for their small business planning classes. And this is where the small business development center assists with the business plan. The client then refines the business plan to VR's required outline, and when it is ready, it's submitted to VR. VR reviews the business plan. If there's questions, they return it to the client. Client answers those questions, resubmits the business plan to VR. They then go to an independent review committee. The committee is made up of commercial bankers, CPAs, business people. They review the business plan. They do not make a decision yes or no, but do an evaluation and then submit that back to the supervisor who makes the decision. You've got a handout of the business plan outline. My experience has been the marketing, the feasibility sections. People are very good at doing the production. I'm one of those, I like to go out and do the planting, raise the crops, harvest the crops. But I don't want to go in and do the marketing. I don't want to have to sit and do the collection and that type of thing, which is very, very common, but it's got to be done. Let me end here with a case study. Had a gentleman wanted to raise cattle, hogs, turkeys, ducks, geese, and rabbits, and wanted to sell them to the public. He was living in a house trailer. They did not have the acreage. His disability was post-traumatic stress syndrome, and his wife was working in town. I met him at his home, and so we talked about what he wanted to do. My background is in livestock production, and so we did some informal feasibility, crunched some numbers on the livestock production. I frankly questioned his ability to generate enough income with doing that. And I asked a gentleman for 2 years of cash flow projections for the business. He got the crunching numbers and decided that the pressure from the dollar amounts was too much stress. He didn't even own a farm yet. So he was looking at purchasing the farm as well as production. So I thought, well, we'll change. Instead of me buying the livestock and paying for the feed and doing the marketing, we'll contract. There's companies out there that will place hogs and cattle. You raise them, and when they're ready for market, they take them back. They looked at that, still too much stress. So he had hunted and fished and trapped. So we went to a third business plan, business idea, doing wildlife control. You get a raccoon or a squirrel in your attic, or you get deer that are eating your newly planted trees. Much less stress. He enjoyed it. The plan was approved and funded. Now, I've not talked to him for some time, but I have I've seen, looking at the Indiana Market Maker, I recognized his email and farm name, and he is selling produce now. And I think I haven't looked at it real close, but I think he's selling some meat now also. So one of our success stories, but also a good example of looking at numbers, looking at things so that making the right decisions. Looking at other resources, you have some websites here. Purdue New Ventures team, a lot of publications there, workshops, Agricultural Innovation Commercialization Center resources. Again, a lot of publications. Venture Business Planner. This is a online business planner. It is geared toward agriculture, but password protected. You can come and go as you like. And then when you're ready to present it, you can download it into a Microsoft Word file. Here's your web addresses for Indiana Market Maker and the National Market Maker portal. Extension. Every state has an extension service. There is now what they call e-extension, which is web-based, and there's an entrepreneurial site on there. Indiana Small Business Development Centers. I believe all states have similar places. SCORE, which is retired business people. Startup America is a organization out of Virginia Commonwealth University, specifically geared toward working with people with disabilities on their businesses. And then the Idea Cafe, again, more resources for the entrepreneur. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and then we'll address some questions after that.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for that presentation. We do have some time for questions and answers. We have several questions that have already come in through the chat window. You may also call the 800 number that is listed on your screen and provide the operator with that Meet Me Call code if you would like to talk directly to Steve. During this time, we ask that you restrict your questions to general ones that pertain to the presentation, as we won't have time to get into a lot of specifics if you're trying to start your own business and have a lot of specific questions. If you do have additional questions that are not addressed during this question and answer time, feel free to go ahead and email us at agrability@agrability.org, the same email address you used to register for the conference. While people are calling in, I would like to go ahead and do our 4 poll questions concerning your views of the webinar to this point. Also, you'll see the web addresses that Steve listed in his final section. Those are on the web resources window, so you should be able to copy and paste those into another document if you would like those directly. I know we've also had the question about whether the PowerPoint will be available, and yes, we are also planning to archive that along with the video recording. So I will go ahead and do our 4 poll questions. If you could respond to those. And the first one just helps us to know who is joining us in terms of your affiliation. If you could just let us know what type of organization you work with, or if you're a consumer just looking for information on your own. We'll give you just a few seconds to go ahead and fill that in, please. We'll go ahead and put the second poll question up. If you want to continue to work on that one, feel free to. The second one asks if you feel that the information presented during this session was valuable and met your expectations. We'll have another one about the technology, but this one just specifically relates to the information that was presented. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the first poll, as it looks like people have completed that. Our third poll asks about the technology. Was the technology effective today? Did you have problems? Was it easy to use? Do you believe it's a viable method of communicating this type of information? Okay, thank you for your responses. And then the final question is, based on today's session, I would attend another session in this series. this point, I would say our next webinar is tentatively scheduled for August. We are, we've again been doing a lot of work with vocational rehabilitation. We're anticipating another webinar that would address some of the specific concerns, some of the specific relationships that AgrAbility has with the vocational rehabilitation programs in their states. But we will be verifying that over the next couple months and send out a notification to everyone that participated today. Okay, if you want to finish up that last poll, we'll go ahead and start looking at the questions. And again, first question that we have posted is, will the PowerPoint be available? And again, the answer to that is yes. We will include that in the archive and notify you when that is available. All right. I'll defer to Cliff to see if there are more questions that Steve can respond to. And I will go ahead and close my camera for now.
Okay. I think we've answered the question on the PowerPoint. Move over the chat.
Question, will we be able to have a copy of this?
We're a little technically challenged here right now. Is this even before they start the business plan? I think we've missed a part of the first part of the question. One of the things that we want to make sure before we start the business plan is look at the feasibility. I usually take in the business plan the marketing section and the financials and use that as a feasibility. And then once we answer that part, then we can incorporate that into the full business plan. Okay, it looks like a software market maker only shows certain states. Yes, it does. The market maker is fairly expensive, and it goes through the land-grant universities typically. And purchasing the information and setting up the databases is expensive. It is expanding, but it is limited at this point in time. Okay, I don't see anything unique to people with DD thus far. All this is true and useful for any person wanting to be an entrepreneur. We approach entrepreneurship, whether people have disabilities or not. What is unique about people with disabilities, I have found, is having the resources to do it, and that's why we use vocational rehabilitation services so much. Because here, at least here in Indiana, that's where we find the dollars to easiest place to find dollars to start a business. You can go to your local bank, farm service agency, small business administration, They have loan programs. Vocational rehabilitation is the only place I know that has grants for that, to start a business. Okay, examples of business plans and types of disabilities. We've worked with organic produce. I mentioned the metal detectors. I had one gentleman we worked with who wanted to sell bucking bulls for the rodeo. We're working on one right now for a coffee shop, another for building guitars, one for small engine repair. And typically the person that we're working with has some back impairments, has arthritis. We had a gentleman with paraplegia with a woodworking shop. Had one with a computer-aided router to do woodworking. Started with one with a tow truck, but arthritis, back impairments seem to be the predominant disabilities that we've been working with. Program pays for building, remodeling, and equipment, but what about buying or renting property or a building space? It will pay rent for a property. It will not buy a building or land. We had, with our organic produce client, we were looking at high tunnel greenhouses for him, and the way we approached that was that the greenhouses had to be removable. So we had them basically bolted to the ground with stakes, so that if something did happen, they could be removed. I might say that with vocational rehabilitation services, until the business is profitable and sustainable, everything that VR pays for, they own. Once the case is closed, then the client takes ownership of the equipment and so forth. So if a business does not become profitable and sustainable, VR can take that equipment back if they've paid for it. Cost of real estate or rental is part of the plan. The cost of real estate, when we're looking at the contribution, if they own it or they're going to pay rent as their contribution is included as they're part of the 25%. Yes, it is used in the plan. How many people begin exploring entrepreneurship end up successful? I would say we have worked with between 70 and 80 different individuals since we started in this program, and I would say we've probably had between 30 and 40 have been funded. I can't give you a firm number on a success rate, because we have quite a few who are still in the startup phase. The ones I have talked to, I had one gentleman that we worked with lawn care and snow removal business. And he had letters, I think either brother or brother-in-law, saying that he was going to pass on some of his lawn care business, and he got up and running, and his brother didn't give him the business. So he didn't have the business starting out that he expected. But his one comment was, this isn't as easy as what I expected. It was a lot more difficult. He was expecting to have some snow removal business. That's hard to do when it doesn't snow. And he ran into a couple, 3 years where there wasn't a lot of snow. So I can't give you a real success rate at this point in time. Would seed stock for a swine breeding program be paid for? I think it could. That's a very specific question. I would have to look at the policies and make sure we could fit that in. Sometimes we have to get creative, like I said with the greenhouse. So I can't fully answer that question. A program pays building remodeling equipment, but what about buying or renting property or building space? It does pay for remodeling equipment. They do not buy property. Again, it's got to be, so if the business is not successful and sustainable, and the case is closed as unsuccessful, VR has to be able to take that equipment and so forth back. Access similar marketing information programs at public libraries. Yes, you can. All the resources that we gave there at the end are web-based. So that, and definitely at the public library, at least the ones I've been to, have computers where you can get on the internet for that. Individual with intellectual or cognitive disabilities. I have some gentlemen. I've got one gentleman I remember working with who could not read. I've had 2 or 3 of those. I seem to be, I've had a number of traumatic brain injuries where we've worked with them. Frankly, they've been very difficult. And you know, we're still working with some of them, and you know, we're looking at job coaches and having support staff around them in their business. Okay. How can we get VR to be more open to work with DD folks? A young man whose case was closed because he could not dress himself. I think in this situation, and I rarely have to resort to bring protection advocacy in, but this might be a situation where we might want to do that. Again, I don't know all the particulars, but we might be looking at some home health, hospice, and it's going to be difficult, but again, Let's remember that vocational rehabilitation services, their goal is employment, and they might be looking at this young man as not being able to become employed because of his disability and abilities. So, very difficult. So, okay, we've come to the end of our time. We thank you very much for being with us today. You have phone numbers and where if we can help you with some other questions, feel free to give us a call. Our phone number is 800-825-4264. That phone number rings directly to my desk, and we'll try to answer your questions the best we can. Thank you very much, and have a good day.